Cern Basher, it's so great to have you back for part 17 of our two-part series. This is getting so confusing, I can't keep track. And, you and I are both pretty good at numbers, but we seem to have completely fooled everybody on this one.
You're going to get some mad comments in this one, Randy. You're going to get some upset people.
All right, well, let's dig into part two, which is at least as good as part one. Maybe,
Definitely.
Maybe your best ever. I'm not sure. That will keep people listening, right?
You keep saying that. I'm not sure that every show can be my best ever, but I'm trying my best. Let's say that.
All right, well, let's get right into the slides.
Sounds good. But Randy, it turns out we're focused on the wrong thing.
Oh, after all that.
After all that. There's a product hitting the markets this year that we've all missed. And this is huge. This is probably the biggest product introduction that the world's ever seen, and we've all missed it. Except for me. I didn't miss it.
I say because obviously you're going to tell us what it is.
I'm here to share it with you today.
Okay.
Any idea what I'm talking about?
It's probably, if it's a Cern Basher thing, it's probably a Bitcoin deal.
No.
No.
No. I don't try to orange pill you every show, but that's fine.
Orange pill.
I see it's working.
No, I don't.
All right. I won't hold you in suspense any longer, but it is called the Pencil Vac Fluffy Cone. Great product name. It's a new vacuum cleaner from Dyson.
Oh, yes, I did see that he announced it. Yes.
Okay. This vacuum cleaner is amazing. All right. Now, it's got a great name. It rolls off the tongue. It's memorable. The Pencil Vac Fluffy Cone, right? Remember this. It's going to be the product of the year this year.
Okay.
All right. It's got these cones, these fluffy cones.
Okay.
That when you roll over hair, the hair doesn't stick to the vacuum cleaner.
Okay.
Right? It's the bane of every person that has a vacuum cleaner. You got to cut the hair off.
Yeah.
Right? In my case, it's not a problem. But I have other people in my house that do have actual hair, and so we have that issue.
Yeah.
But in this case, the fluffy cones, because they're a conical shape, the hair naturally rolls off the end.
I see.
In a nice little ball. You can just pick it up and throw it in the trash.
Has it got any commercial value? The little balls of hair.
Well, that's up to somebody to figure that out. Yeah. So that's one innovation, right?
Right.
The anti-tangle cones you can see there on the thing.
Right.
Okay. The rollers roll in opposite directions. So essentially the vacuum head kind of floats. You can move it in any direction. Because they're rolling in opposite directions.
Right.
That's pretty cool. It has an electric motor. This is amazing. It has an electric motor that is tiny. It rotates at 140,000 RPM. That's 2,333 times a second, Randy. Okay? And it's really small. It fits in the handle. Here, I'll go back to this image. It fits in the handle of the pencil vac. Okay? All the debris gets caught here. Here's the electric motor, and then I'm not sure what's up here. I guess the batteries. Batteries up here. Okay. It's the diameter of a 500 yen coin, which isn't very big. It's 28 millimeters is the size of the electric motor.
Okay.
Call it an inch, maybe a bit more.
Wow.
Okay. And there's 140,000 RPM. Now, just for reference for our Tesla viewers who know all about Tesla, which Tesla has the fastest RPM for its electric motor? The answer is the Model S Plaid, 20,000 RPM.
Okay.
It spins at a mere 333 times a second. Okay. This one spins at 2,333 times a second. Okay, so if they could put this in a Tesla, the acceleration would be amazing. Now it's kind of small. You might need a few of them.
A few.
The Model 3, apparently, the electric motor in that is 18,000 RPM, and the other Tesla vehicles around 16,000. A mere 266 times a second. Okay, so this vacuum cleaner's got some serious power. There you can see it fits in the palm of your hand.
Right.
And here he is talking about how it works. This guy is actually a master presenter. This took him 7 minutes to demo this, and he did an amazing job. Also, another innovation is they've got laser-like lighting for this thing. Now, it's probably going to hurt all cats' eyesight, right, with the green laser, but I think it's just a green light. I'm not really sure it's actual laser. If it is, there might be some blind pets
Yeah.
or pets that chase this and play with it. That
I'm,
could be
I'm
an issue.
guessing. I'm guessing that's what I was thinking.
Yeah, but it lights up both sides.
Okay.
It goes under anything. It can go flat under the couch. It's easy to move and so on. It's super light. And it comes with an extra battery. So the battery in the handle pops off. You can put another one on.
Okay.
Anyway, I'm here to say this is the product of 2025.
So here's my question. This kind of reminds me of General Motors coming out with an amazing new 12-cylinder, 0 to 60 in 3.1 second ICE car
Yeah.
that doesn't have autonomy, because the only vacuum cleaner that my wife has asked for in the last 3 years has been the autonomous ones. And this one doesn't appear to have autonomy.
Well, but here you're missing the key
Oh,
thing, Randy.
what is
And
it?
I've led you right into my trap.
Oh, you've led me into a trap. Oh, here we go.
I believe that James Dyson here has developed this vacuum cleaner for Optimus,
For Optimus, there you go.
right? It's light, the long thin handle,
Right,
easy to operate. Don't have to worry about cutting the hair off the bottom of it.
right,
Like it's
right.
made for a humanoid robot to use.
So he's actually ahead of his time.
I think he is.
Okay, all right.
Yeah. Now, obviously, there's Roombas and so on, and they
Yeah.
they have their issues, but this thing, Optimus could use this anywhere. Again, a bold prediction that's probably wrong, but I'll say it anyway.
What did he give a price?
I don't know. He demoed this in Tokyo,
Oh, okay.
and this is probably one of the few demos where people paid or were taking pictures and videos of a guy vacuum cleaning. That's never happened before in human history.
I do have
But
another
yeah,
do have another question, because my wife and I were actually talking about this the other day. Will this be sold through door-to-door salesmen? Because any great breakthrough in vacuum cleaners should be sold by a door-to-door salesman.
door-to-door Optimus salesman.
Dr. Optimus.
And when the robot shows up at your door, Randy, to sell you something, you should not refuse. Just a word to the wise, okay? If a robot ever shows up at your door selling you something, to try to sell you something, do not refuse. Yeah, probably my number one life advice for anybody
There
listening
you
to this
go.
channel.
There you go. There you go.
All right. All right. So that was fun. Here's a little cartoon, Bubbles on Wall Street. Yesterday, NVIDIA announced their earnings. We won't go through the details. I think this summarizes it perfectly from Joe. NVIDIA crushes earnings. Who would have thought? Turns out people want more AI chips in the middle of the greatest revolution in human history, which is AI.
So I had a little breakthrough in that regard. Or I haven't had my breakthrough yet for Bitcoins, but I had a breakthrough with regard to the NVIDIA, and maybe everybody thought the same thing, and I'm just the last to get to it. Um, who was it that said this the other day? It was, I think, one of the All In podcast, or maybe B2G or whatever, and they said every country in the world needs to have their own data centers, their own chip manufacturing, their own fabs. No serious country can afford to be left out of this revolution. And that would alone add dramatically to what NVIDIA is doing right now, because it's basically a US and China race up until the Saudi meeting a week and a half ago. And then you add all of Europe, you add, Brazil, Argentina. I mean, man, that could be a lot of NVIDIA chips.
Yeah, I think that may or may not be the case. I wouldn't dispute it too strongly, but I do think that what NVIDIA is doing is basically every single computer on the planet needs to become an AI computer.
Yeah,
Right? We need to go from CPUs to GPUs with everything, not just in the data center,
right.
but at the enterprise, at companies. the device in your hand, your phone, needs to be an AI supercomputer, basically.
Yeah.
Right? The vehicle needs to be, Optimus needs to be everything. So NVIDIA is in the forefront of that. And it's not just about chips, it's about the whole system. It's the soup to nuts, everything.
Yes.
Right? The software, the box that it's in. These computers that NVIDIA sells essentially have, 35,000 parts in them.
Yeah.
Incredibly complex. It's not just about making the chip. That's hard enough.
Right. Right.
Right. So that's NVIDIA's opportunity. Right now, they've largely been selling into the data center.
Mm-hmm.
And the next thing is selling into countries and companies. But eventually, we're going to see more and more sort of personal AI computers.
Right.
So the opportunity is huge. We're basically redoing computing from scratch.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Okay. And replacing the data centers is enough growth for NVIDIA for a long time to come. But add on top of that other things. NVIDIA, Jensen at NVIDIA talks about having a digital twin for everything.
Right.
Right. So again, we're developing new uses for computing that we haven't done before.
Right.
Okay. So, all right. I thought this would be up your alley. You probably tracked this. The percent of balance 90 days plus days delinquent by loan type. Now, it turns out that if you, on student loans, that if you kind of enforce the rules, suddenly people are delinquent.
Yes.
So that's been one change.
Right.
But we see a little bit of an issue with delinquency in credit cards.
Uh-huh.
Mortgages still pretty good because we have pretty low rates on mortgages. There's been a little bit of an uptick in auto loans.
Mm-hmm.
So something to keep an eye on.
Yep. Yep.
And then this is good. The guy's holding up the sign that says, "It's the end." And somebody comments, "Clickbait." And then here you go, Randy. Here's a Bitcoin for you. This is a girl in her bed, and I guess it's the tooth fairy, and she says to the tooth fairy, "Can I get Bitcoin for that tooth?"
That's almost not funny. It's probably already happened.
Yeah. Yeah, my daughter right now, my 7-year-old daughter has a loose tooth, and she can't wait for the day that it falls out so the tooth fairy comes. But she hasn't yet asked for Bitcoin. So
yeah. In your house, that would just be normal.
that's right. What's that? Losing teeth, Randy? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, no.
Yeah. All right. And then the last one, which I thought was pretty funny, and you may not appreciate this, but I thought this was great. Days without changing tariffs.
Yeah, no, I think it's hilarious, and I think it's hilarious for all the right reasons.
Yeah. Whether it's him or the courts or somebody else. Yeah.
Yeah. I have, from time to time, people might think that I'm full of myself because I talk about the things that I do well. And I think that's emotionally mature to know what you do well. But I know one thing I don't do well, and that's negotiate. I've never been a great negotiator. So I get my hat is off to the president for his negotiating skills. It's something to behold.
Is now a good time then to ask for a raise for appearing on your show? Yeah.
100%. 100%. Yeah, go for it. I've actually read some books on negotiating. I think there was one when Reagan was maybe not quite on par with Trump in his ability to negotiate, but his rule was you ask for the moon and then you accept 95%. I thought that was a great rule for negotiating. But in order to do that, you have to have the ability to walk out of the room. And this is the skill that I've always failed to find my ability to walk out of the room. Yeah.
It helps when you're starting with, a few trillion or a few billion. It makes the negotiation easier.
Yeah, I do think it's one of those things that you might be born with. I also talk in terms of parenting and other relationships, that in almost every relationship, there's one person that is more willing to die than the other person. It really isn't about, who's right. It's not about who can hang in there longest or who's got the best ability to argue, but one person is willing to, die. There will be, doesn't matter whether they're right or wrong. It's just how long are they willing to create a fuss or create, yeah. And I had, one of my children that was very good at that. Yeah. And almost every family that has more than one has at least one child that is really good at that.
Yeah, I would say it a little different way. I would say that the person has a higher pain threshold, I think is the way I would say it.
Yeah, I like to
But
I like to hyperbolize.
if you're fighting for the death in your household, that's fine. That you run your household a little differently than mine, Randy.
All right, so CERN over the weekend, I put up quite a few videos. I'm still encouraging people to go watch those. There was a series of four. My thesis was that there is a convergence. That's not right. Confluence of events happening right now that have to do with people and things. The confluence is made up of the breakthroughs in AI, both regular AI and humanoids and robots and other things. So we have this breakthroughs that are happening right now. Lots of them last week. More coming from Tesla right now and others who are in that space as well. And that these breakthroughs are, at least on the level of what we saw in the 90s with the internet, but probably multiples of that. And then at the same time, we have these two people. We've got Elon Musk and we've got Trump. And I think I could do the short version of this by saying that over yesterday, the guy who may be the second most listened to person in the Silicon Valley or in tech, Jensen Huang, continued his praise of Elon Musk and mentioned Grok, the humanoids, and the robotaxis as all three being state of the art and ahead of the game. And he's mentioned before that the robotaxis are way ahead of everybody else. And at the same time, he turned around in the same conversation and heaped praise on the president with regard to the tariffs, the tariff approach to bringing back manufacturing to America as being next level, visionary, just really, really amazing. So I took those three pieces together and I said, we're not going to have a recession this summer. In fact, we might be in the golden age by whatever the second week of this, August. So by the middle of the third quarter, we might already be in the golden age. I know that's Randy's optimism, but certainly I'm going along with Besant saying that by the fourth quarter, we will be at 3% GDP increase, not nominal, but after inflation. And then from there, who knows, Cathie Wood's 4s, 5s, 6s, and 7s might be in play. So that was my theorem. What do you think about my theorem?
Yeah, I don't disagree with the direction. I'm not sure about the timing. Um, I believe fundamentally that AI is the biggest economic growth wave that we've ever seen, and that we're just beginning in that growth wave. And I feel like everybody with NVIDIA is sort of waiting for NVIDIA to kind of roll over and they wave their flags and they say, oh, that was a cyclical growth and now it's going to grow back at 10% a year. I don't think so. Right. Um, but interestingly too, I'll just add to what you said about what Jensen was talking about yesterday. He was very openly sort of saying that we shouldn't stop selling our chips to the Chinese.
Right.
Right, which is, kind of goes against the party line right now. And he's basically saying that, we want to be selling chips to everybody. We want to be selling the AI systems. We're basically forcing the Chinese to develop their own.
Right.
Right? Wouldn't we rather sell it to them than have them develop their own? So it may be sort of misguided thinking to think that we can, somehow slow them down and win this race by not selling our stuff to them.
Well, he does have David he does have from the All In podcast, David, yes,
Sachs.
Sachs. He does have David Sachs in his ear there at in DC, who agrees with you. And I'm pretty much in your camp. I haven't made 100% decision on that, but I wonder if it was another negotiating tactic.
Yeah.
looking for some way for China, forcing China to come up with some kind of promises, guarantees, whatever, that would allow, that they're not offering right now, that would allow him to feel good about, providing them with these, at least with the step down chips that we've been providing them.
Yeah, the challenge that we have with all these technologies is that they are also a defense,
Right.
aka warfare technology, right? And so China is our greatest adversary in many ways. We're under attack from China all the time, particularly in cyberspace,
Right.
right? We have the Chinese operating in our country, exerting influence on their citizens in the United States,
Yes.
right? There's all kinds of stuff going on behind the scenes, and so there is that mindset that we are essentially at war with them,
Mhm.
and so why give them anything,
Mhm. Mhm.
right? At the same time, there's also a realization, I think, by a lot of people that, well, if we don't sell it to them, then you're only forcing them to develop themselves, and then you may be creating a competitor.
Right. Right.
And do you really want that?
Yeah, providing them with an opportunity to possibly have a breakthrough, that we don't have because they're having to work
Yeah,
so hard on the pure science. Yeah.
yeah. I mean, one of the complaints about the Chinese is that they steal our IP, and you think about what Elon says about that, and he's like, well, I don't want, if you have to rely on patents and IP to be successful, then you're going to lose the game, because to really be successful, you'd have to keep innovating.
Yeah.
You can't stand still.
Mhm. Mhm.
So it's interesting. It's kind of a clash of different viewpoints. I can see the pros and cons on both sides.
Mhm.
Um, Long term, I'm kind of in the camp. I wish the planet could be one big happy family, but we're so far away from that that that's not going to happen, for a
Some
long time, if ever.
some guy said, "Can't we just all get along?" I forget who that was. I don't think
Yeah.
I don't think when he said it, he had been getting along that well with some cops, but yeah, I think that saying sure stuck.
The only way to make enemies work together is if there's some other threat that threatens all of them.
Yeah.
And so perhaps when the aliens arrive and threaten to destroy us, perhaps we will unite with Russia and China and everybody else. That may be what we need, and of course, that's not going to happen. Um, Pretty sure if the aliens arrive, that they'll have the means to destroy us pretty quickly, should we not behave the way that they want us to behave.
Well, and the aliens just might be the Optimus bots. So, so
That's right.
we don't, even if you ask Elon, he might agree that that's the most likely alien threat that we're going to face in our lifetimes.
Yeah, these breakthroughs that we're having maybe planted there by others. Yeah. Anyway, it's interesting times, Randy. I'm optimistic about the potential for economic growth. I'm optimistic for sort of pressure release on interest rates.
Mhm. Mhm.
Um, uh, Longer term, I'm pretty confident that we're going to have massive deflation,
Mhm.
right? And so whatever inflationary effects we're still dealing with now, I think are largely temporary,
Right.
right? And I think policymakers need to be focused on that, because we're about to unleash so much deflation on the world,
Right.
right? Um, which overall should be good,
Mhm.
but it's not without its challenges in navigating that.
Yeah. Kathy Would say that kind of deflation is actually good deflation in that
Mhm.
it has a wealth effect.
Yep.
And I think people need to really concentrate on that as we go through this period. Now, there's a lot of conversation right now about the impact on potentially on white collar jobs. You and I've had a lot of conversation about jobs of the future and whatnot. But I think on the deflation side, if we leave aside the potential for a major, um, some major pain on the white collar job front, the deflationary effect in and of itself, I think I would compare it to like gasoline, which is often talked about as a tax.
Mhm.
So when gasoline is costing in California, if gasoline is $7 a gallon, it's like a tax. If it gets down to $4 a gallon, the tax is way, way less. It might be just looked as a necessary commodity. But that difference, that other $3 means I can't spend as much money on going out to dinner or, paying my bills, depending on where I am in my life. So same thing with everything else.
That's right.
$1,000 television that I want to buy all of a sudden is only $700. That's $300 I got to spend someplace else. And that is, generally speaking, a good thing.
That's right. And that $700 or whatever it is, you could consider that a tax as
Right.
well.
Right.
Right. Could be cheaper.
Right.
Or the money that you're spending on milk and eggs at the grocery store.
Right.
Right. That's also a tax in that sense. So yeah, that's ultimately we should be able to drive down the cost of everything we buy. And ultimately that would be good for everybody. And that hopefully gets us to this world of sustainable abundance that Elon and others essentially are talking about. But we have this very, very messy middle where people lose their jobs.
Yes.
And how are we going to take care of them?
The messy middle is right. Well, Cern Basher, as we end part 2 of this 2-part series,
yeah,
then it's always a great pleasure to have you on board, and we will look forward to seeing you for part 3 next Thursday or something. I don't know.
I thought this was part 3 of a 2-part series, Randy.
I think you've got it. To all of you out there, it's been great talking to you.